time to take a look at what the local and international newspapers have on their front pages this morning. And of course, joining me in the studio is Dr. Constance, who will introduce Akona. Go on, Constance.
Good morning, Ndi. How are you?
I'm good.
Right, to discuss or look at the newspapers today with us, we have Chuks Akuna. He is the Executive Director of Authority Newspaper. Welcome, Chuks.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Good morning.
Morning, Chuks.
Good morning and welcome to the program. We'll begin by looking at this day newspaper. In this day newspaper this morning, Tinubu directs NNPCL to commence crude oil sale to Dangote, others in Naira. The directive will reduce Nigeria's FX burden, save $7.32 billion annually, says the FIRS boss, that's the Federal Inland Revenue Service. This decision was taken to reduce Nigeria's reliance on FX for crude oil imports. So it looks like Dangote won the battle eventually. The other day, it was himself and the NNPCL boss, Farouk Ahmed, talking about dirty fuel, him accusing Dangote of importing dirty fuel, and Dangote refinery countering, and then the problem with the NNPCL. Eventually, there was a lot of outrage from many people, and eventually the president has intervened and asked that crude oil be sold to Dangote refinery in Naira. Your thoughts, Chuks?
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's welcome development, because if you consider the back and forth between Dangote refinery and the regulatory agency, it was largely unnecessary, and it's good that the president has intervened. To begin with, it doesn't make sense for a product you manufacture in Nigeria, I mean crude oil from Nigeria, burning light, then you're selling to a company in Nigeria and expecting them to pay in dollars. It's like telling schools directing parents to pay school fees in dollars when everything that is required to run the schools are basically made in Nigeria. So we've been crying over rooftop about things that put a strain on the Naira. So, and one of this is one of the key factors. 450,000 barrels a day, times $100 per barrel. I mean, if you do that in dollars, it's a huge. It puts a huge strain on our Naira, on the forex. So it's good that the president has intervened, and several things that's coming from the villa these days, shows that the government is really willing to listen and do the needful. And
when you look at the available information, it says that 30 to 40% of FX or foreign exchange is spent on crude oil imports. That's huge, indeed.
Very huge. Now, let me begin with what you talked about, Ahmed. That was nonsensical. The statement of the NNPCL guy. That was just, in fact, I think the National Assembly even called for the president sacking him or something.
Yes. I think, no, it was initially they asked for his suspension, but it looks like he's not going anywhere. This has been settled,
Yeah, but that statement was just not it. Now, okay, fine. Like Chuk said, the president has done well. The action he's taking, good. On three fronts, one, less dependence on forex is going to increase. Domestic, not just Dangote, domestic refineries as well.
Other refineries, yes.
They're going to begin to produce. They're going to find they will be sourcing for dollars to trade, to buy this. And then one of the reason to strengthen the Naira, as it were. And then marketers are saying the price is going to crash. So beautiful and good. But Chuks and Constance, then you sit back and then you wonder, are we really putting on our thinking caps? Where is sitting down to? That's why in some quarters, some people said this subsidy must go was not well thought out.
Yes.
Because if these things are thought out, we won't go through this.
Well, we've said that again and again.
Again.
So we're looking at the way forward now.
No,
Yes.
no, because if you don't know where you're coming from, you won't know where you're going
Exactly.
to. If you don't learn from your mistakes in the past, you won't be able to go forward. So that's why I'm bringing it up again. So it's good that the president has done what he has done. The brouhaha between NNPCL, Dangote, and then now so the smaller refineries has stopped, and then we can begin to breathe. Let's see how I hope it works out in implementation, because that's the next level.
Indeed, that's what I was going to say. It's good on paper, but you know that the devil is always in the details. Yeah. Is this going to be a smooth run for other refineries and Dangote Chuks?
Yes, let's not continue to be pessimistic.
Right.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Exactly.
It's a question she asked. It's a question.
I guess it's akin to putting the cart before the horse. I mean, it's not done yet, so let's give that benefit of the doubt. So we allow, a few weeks or a few months, and then we'll see how it pans out. I'm
sure we'll hear more about that. Yes.
And then the media was also congratulated that they made this was on the front burner.
Exactly.
Well, whether the media look. Mr. Dangote, he's a businessman but also a politician.
And
so he was going to make it.
Because the way you said it, I did, but the way you said it, it was not diplomatic. Dangote didn't win.
Okay.
Everybody won.
No,
okay.
But I think
you understand. So that NNPCL won't feel bad. So that just everybody won. Nigeria won.
Yes, Chuks, jump in, please.
Yes, I think this is the greatest battle of Dangote's life. I don't know.
Yes.
He's been fighting it.
No, he's fighting it.
And he says he's a fighter.
I've never seen Dangote,
sweat like this.
Exactly. Since I began my journalism career. Very interesting.
But Chuks, one thing you said, transactions locally being denominated in dollars. You know that there are schools in this country, there are renters in this country, there are businesses in this country that are denominated in dollars. You have to pay in dollars. So let's not talk about crude oil alone.
No, but I thought that have been giving, there was,
yes.
that have been given,
I think property.
Rentals. Yes. There are things that are done in dollars. Yeah. That is something that probably we have to, or the government.
I thought they had given an order that whatever you do in Nigeria, you should not denominate things in dollars, even schools.
I think it's a mental thing. You see, we know that the euro and the British pound sterling, they are worth more than the
the Naira.
No, I mean the dollar.
Right.
But people would rather you give them $1,000 than
because dollar is the international currency.
I know, but you see, it's still currency. You see, I think it's just dollar.
I don't even know how we made it international currency, really.
Right. Well,
is it America and its propaganda?
No, but the international capitalist system is run by the West. And then
America
was.
No, but if you say West,
hold on. America, let me land, please, guys. America is the world power, or was the world power for a very long time. Now we're going to a multipolar world. So he who drives the international trading system determines a lot what currency is used. So this is something that came through many centuries to be what it is today. They are the power. They run the international economic system, they run the international trade system, of course, with Europe. So that's what it is. You have no say whatsoever.
I think most nations are trying to change that.
Of things. Yes, China, yeah, that's why I said there is where the multipolar world is emerging, and that's why you have the BRICS, and that's why you have China trying to see if it can trade with its yuan. That is going to change eventually, but we are trying to explain how we got here. We have no say.
And Africa trying to do its own as well.
Well, let's see how it goes. We have to get ourselves together first of all. Because how many percentage are we involved in international trade? What's the percentage? Well, just selling raw materials. We are not in the what do you call?
And then we did not mention that it was. I don't think this is an advert. Okay, well, I may not call the bank's name, but a bank has been selected, for the first transactions in this Naira crude thing.
Right. So let's go to the next paper that also has to do with money. Daily Trust this morning, thousands of dollars flown out of Nigeria every hour. This is according to Interpol. The International Police Organization in this story reveals that hundreds of thousands of dollars are being laundered out of Nigeria to other African countries and across the world. Money laundering has assumed a monstrous dimension, according to this story. This was revealed at the EFCC academic. The EFCC is the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. There's effort to tackle this, but it will require help from other countries. I mean, illicit outflow of money from Africa has been a scourge. It makes crime attractive, and it deprives the continent of funds to plug into viable ventures in order to lift, millions out of poverty chokes.
Yes, and that's why we have to commend the EFCC, under its chairman. The EFCC chairman, from what I hear, he works 24 hours, almost, 7 days a week. On Sundays, he comes to work from what I gathered. And it's an uphill task, but I think they say when there's a will, there's a way. Imagine that as a Nigerian, there are certain sites you want to visit to do business. As soon as you click on that site, what you see is access denied. Just because you're clicking from Nigeria. Whenever Nigeria is mentioned, what most people, if you're in group chats, the next thing that pops up is, are you sure it's not a scammer, and things like that. So it's good that the EFCC is doing its best, but like the chairman has always said, that it requires our collective efforts, because we cannot, on the one hand, be condemning the activities of fraudsters or those who are illicitly exporting money, out of the shores of this country. And on the other hand, we celebrate them at social events. We don't care if we had recent cases of people like what's this guy's name? The guy. No. The guy who's in America now. The pussy guy. What they call this guy? This guy who was arrested. The Hush Puppy. Hush Puppy. I was trying to look for a name of a dog. Hush Puppy. So we cannot, we want people to come to parties and throw dollars at us, and spend, and we fail to question the source of their wealth. Growing up, there are things you acquire as a daughter or as a son, and be scared to bring it home to your parents, to family, you'll be disowned. But now people seem to celebrate fraudsters, and it's a huge tragedy, if you ask me.
Well, during the President Obasanjo administration, Nigeria was compelled to clean up its finances, and I think that's one of the reasons why the EFCC was set up. It was a condition for debt relief, because Obasanjo was looking for debt relief at that time. So one of the reasons was that if we are going to give you debt relief, then you have to show us proof that you are fighting corruption, that you have a system that does not encourage crime and fraud and money laundering. And so the EFCC was set up. It's been a very difficult time for the agency. There's no EFCC chairman that was not removed unceremoniously. But it looks like we are back to square one. I don't know. This kind of problem, Nigeria cannot solve it alone, indeed.
I am at a loss too, because it's good he's pointed it out, but I'm at a loss how they're going to go about it, because this is a cankerworm that has eaten deep into the fabrics of our society here, where you have people launder money. Money through things like cocaine and other illicit business deals. So I don't know which way that EFCC is going to go about it, and how they will involve Nigerians. Because, I was watching, I think I've discussed in certain fora, I was watching a particular, I think it was a wedding. The hall was so long and so big, and you see someone, he gets up from one end of the hall, and he was just dropping dollars from one end of the hall to the other, and everybody was screaming and shouting and clapping. And I said to somebody, I can't be in this place. You know why I can't be here? Because I can't hobnob with this person. Our language can't be the same. Like Chooks talked about family, and the fact that you're asked, where did you get this wealth from? So I don't know, but it's a good step. At least they said how you to solve a problem, you identify it first. Yeah. Then that's why it starts.
Well, let's see how that goes. A lot of work for the EFCC and the government in general to make sure that the crime is reduced. Let's move on to Punch newspaper. In Punch, NIN linkage, NCC orders STEAM restoration as angry subscribers protest. So the Nigerian Communications Commission has directed phone companies to immediately restore phone lines after yesterday's sudden blockage of hundreds of thousands of lines. These lines had failed to link their name to their phones. It's estimated that about 3 million people were affected. The NIN phone linkage was initiated in December 2020. That was in the former administration of President Muhammadu Buhari to enhance security. There have been several deadlines. Many remain unverified still. The last deadline was April 15, 2024, and then it was moved to July 31. Well, you know the interesting thing, Chooks, when this happened yesterday, people were like, okay, are they doing this in order to stop the August 1 protest?
It was linked.
But we are now seeing that, no, it has nothing to do with, there was already deadlines before today or before August 1.
And you see, it's very interesting because sometimes you wonder how government agencies operate. You know, if there's cohesion, if there's synergy, and it also shows you, underscores the level of seriousness. You know, from when Pantami was the Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, he came up late December and early December of 2000 to announce that every SIM line, every SIM card be linked by December 31st. And some of us reminded him that as a Muslim, you should have imagined that Christmas is, December is a time for festivities. You know, it wasn't well thought out. And it created a lot of problems. So at the end of December, they had to extend. And here we are, almost nearly 4 years after deadline. You know, finally. And then yesterday, in fact, the joke, Constance, was that the federal government was trying to kickstart the protest on its own because a lot of people, you know, we should be emotionally intelligent. Yeah. We saw that these people were planning 1st of August, and then 30th, 31st of August, of July. You're implementing this, so they should have thought out this. You have the National Security Advisor. These agencies will have, because
proactive.
Exactly, because actually NCC did that to help our security system, because most kidnappers were kidnapping and were demanding ransom with them. So it was done to say, okay, any telephone line that you use to call somebody, we can trace who owns that line.
Well, that's one of the reasons given for linking NIN, that it will enhance security. However, have we done a review to see between that time, 2020, and now, whether this has actually dramatically improved security?
You see, that's why we talk about lessons from the past. Yeah. A good point you've raised, because the way you evaluate, that's evaluation. You put a policy down or across. Then over time, you check the effect of the policy. Is it working? Do we need to tweak it? Do we need to stop it and bring in a new one? Now, a lady, I was watching as I was reading the news, a lady here lost a 5 million naira contract because of this. Yeah, that's bad. That's terribly bad. That's a no-no.
But Andy, when you're giving a deadline,
I'm going there.
Okay.
Because it's on this front and on this front. I mean, when I was speaking about, somebody said, another person said, oh, they didn't give us time. And I said, why? No, I said, but they gave you time. Then the engineer there, he noticed this Nigerians when they give time. Do they listen to time? You know. But you see, let me give an example. I woke up one day. I wanted to subscribe my electricity, so I subscribed and they gave me the token. Now I went to impute it. It didn't work. I had to go to church. It was a Sunday. I tried it on Saturday. It didn't work. On Sunday morning, I had to go to church. I told my security guy, see, keep imputing this thing. I came back. It didn't work. When I got to their office, gladly enough, the office is just on my street. I got there. the guy called somebody who gave me 2 numbers, KC1, KC2, that I should go and impute it before I put my token. And what was that? That I needed to update before. I don't know whether you experienced it, I never had anything about updating.
Yeah.
So these agencies, at times, their mode of communication to people to do whatever they want you to do. And then Nigerians, you will give a date. Constance, you said July, you said February and July. Even last year, these dates have been given, but people won't do anything.
And can you imagine, according to MTN, the MTN said 4.2 million lines, 4.2 million lines were disconnected. That's a lot of people.
That's a lot of people.
Yes.
And but what I read, what I saw that was good was, I think that, I was talking about communication. I think these agencies should know how to communicate ahead. That's one. And find means to make it easy. I think I read where they said you can do it by yourself. I think that would be the best thing. To have an app or whatever, or a code where you can easily. And then there were suggestions from subscribers. A subscriber who couldn't succeed, he said, for God's sake, let them share these things and not pack everybody in a particular center. Open small places. Because you get there, some said MTN told them the NIN network wasn't working. So that was the reason for the problem. And then, so many of them had linked, but still had this problem.
But there are certainly challenges from the telecommunications companies. But again, people have been given deadlines over time. I had already linked mine. And so you might say that it's challenging, it's problematic to do this, but it's a law, it's a requirement rather than we have to comply with it, So let's see. But the most important thing is, what are the benefits of this at the end of the day? There's so many, data that are scattered all over the country of people, and how do you use all this data? Are they useful at all? You just have different agencies collecting data from different people.
And let me add that the NCC and the MT, they have warned people. This is just for now. You better hurry up. If you're listening, you better hurry up and go and link. Not tomorrow you come and start complaining on TV.
I'll tell you something very interesting. When Professor Pantami made that order, gave the order, a senior officer in NCC told me in confidence that they were equally surprised that this came up. That they were not even. They are the regulatory agency, but they're not even carried along. You just come, wake up one day, make a pronouncement, and then you can't. It's not well thought out. Because they ought to have given time frame. They said 1 month. I think it was 1st of December, 2000. They gave 1 month. And I said, when people are preparing for Christmas, you want them to go and queue up, and
that was it.
That's 2020, not
yes.
2000.
2020.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So let's go back to
2020.
Let's go to Punch newspaper.
Way back.
Let's move on to Punch newspaper. Keyamo orders suspension of NAMA's 800% charge hike. NAMA is the Nigeria Airspace Management Agency. It had proposed a hike in charges to manage the airspace. Passengers and stakeholders in the industry were not having it. NAMA has now been overruled by the Minister of Aviation, Festus Keyamo. The minister referenced current economic challenges and the need to be responsive. Spot on, Chooks.
You see, same thing I was saying. I said earlier. NCC wakes up and the minister announces a 1 month deadline. So NAMA, the question when I read this story, I chuckled. So does it mean that NAMA officials live in the moon, that they don't know that this current economic reality? I mean, traveling by air now, if you're able to travel by air, you come to church on Sunday, you go and give testimony.
It's now a luxury.
It is. It is.
So a big luxury.
So this time, of all times, 800% increase in operational costs. It's so okay now. Well, if tomorrow should NAMA issue a statement tomorrow, people will say, okay, don't mind them. The minister will soon overrule them. And it puts, these are agencies that ought to be self-running. Understand? So, people stop taking them serious, because each time you just wake up one day, maybe for the sake of grabbing headlines. Some of these CEOs, that's what they do. They want to grab national and international headlines, they make certain pronouncements. Nobody sat down to say, okay, what will the effect of this on the end users, I mean, basically the travelers, you know. But nobody talked about that. Then it took the minister to remind them that the present economy. And imagine 3 days to the August 1 protest. We're talking about a hike in operation. I mean,
a lot of things coalesce to this protest.
Exactly. So you ask yourself, are they working across purposes or what?
You know, the airline industry is struggling. The other day, we had the CEO of United Nigeria Airlines with us here in Arise, and he did mention that there are so many taxes and charges on the airlines, because we were discussing and trying to find out why tickets are so expensive. But something that he said was that it's one thing to tax and to lay charges. It's another thing to reinvest the money in the industry, because when you don't reinvest, you don't support the airlines. So that's part of the problems. That's part of the reasons why, you know, from over 100 aircraft, now we have shortage of aircrafts.
All right, Constance will keep your pulse. I think I was watching a drama in church yesterday. Everybody at the point they will stay like this. So I think everybody should stay like this now. We'll get back in a bit and we'll continue. My director said, I will unfreeze you people now. So you're on freeze, as it were. So you're off the pause. It's 7:34 a.m. You're still on Daybreak. We're discussing NAMA, you know, and the issues that have to do with the aviation minister overruling NAMA. NAMA says is for expenses. But then I added, even personally, you see, they say in every disadvantage an advantage, you know. Truth be told, when things like this happen, when the system, when there's inflation or high cost of living, you begin to find ways of spending less and all that. And that's what NAMA should be told. There must be things you can cut off.
So that's not even the issue. So
okay.
The issue here is reinvestment of the funds, of the taxes and charges from airlines, from the industry into the system. Because what happens is that there's not enough investment, so airlines have to incur more costs because the government is not even doing its part. Jokes.
Yeah, exactly. A few weeks ago, I was in Owerri Airport. I was at Owerri Airport because I missed my flight, so I had to go through Owerri. And I was shocked because you just walk in because the scanning equipment was faulty. You know, it was sellotaped. I mean, it was taped. You know, you walk in and they walk to the counter. And I asked them, they said, no, that they can, that before the luggage gets to enter the aircraft, that they scan it. I said, okay, what if somebody walks in with a bag of explosives, you know? And the tragedy of the whole situation was that President Tinubu had commissioned the same airport a few months prior to my visit. Prior to my trip. Then I was wondering, okay, what then did he, I mean, if basic things, and if a thing as basic as scanning equipment is not working, I'm talking about aviation safety. So what is FAN doing? Or is it because the airport is in a particular part of the country? I don't know. But then, I also imagine that the governor and very many VIPs who also have used the airport, and, you know, for them, it's normal. It's sad. We're talking about reinvesting the monies you get. Go to the airport. Sometimes even you can't use the toilets. Things as basic as toilets, there's no water. And so you ask yourself, what really is going on? Do we really have agencies that cater to protect customers?
Maybe you're talking now because you're a journalist. But then, it's just not about being a journalist. I think if a governor, worth his salt, or a government official, worth his salt, passes that scanning place,
yes,
should be able to stop and ask those in charge, because sometimes it's negligence of duty.
But the thing is, the governor doesn't pass the airport every day. There are people that are paid.
That's exactly what I was saying.
Do their jobs.
Yeah.
So they should do their jobs. And let's even talk about cost. The data says that, you know, this was a Punch report as far back as 2022. It says only 3% of Nigerians use air travel because of cost. So it was already inaccessible. Now it's even more inaccessible, because if you have to pay a ticket of 200,000 Naira from Abuja to Lagos, for instance, is way out of reach for a lot of people. So there are a couple of factors and reasons why all this is happening. So it's a difficult one for Nigerians, and the aviation minister has said, you know what, we have to put a stop to it for now, at least given the economic conditions. I'm sure that a lot of travelers will be happy.
And that's good thinking on his part.
Right. So let's move on to Nation newspaper. Nation this morning. 10,000 police recruits begin training on August 10. The Police Service Commission says the recruits will begin training. They are constables. However, the Inspector General of Police rejected the recruits, saying the process was corrupt. The police claims some qualified candidates were replaced with unqualified ones. Choose. This ongoing battle between the Police Service Commission and the police force is unhealthy, isn't it? It's something that we do not need at this time. It could lead to antagonism even against the new recruits. What do you think?
No, the police have a special place in my heart, because my thesis of my first degree project was public attitudes towards the police rule performance. And because it was during military rule, the argument had always been that the military would not want an efficient police force. If you recall, a certain Alozio Gubaja, who used to be the police spokesman in Lagos, he incurred the wrath of the military authorities in about 1986 when there was this Justice Akombi panel, where Ogubada said it wouldn't be in the interest of the military, who, by the way, he said, sit under trees to sip pepper soup and gossip, you understand? And we said, okay, we return to democracy, that the police thinks we're better for the police. But Obasanjo just started by appointing a retired general, David Jembe, to be the Minister of Police Affairs in 1999. And some of us protested that it was wrong to have used a military general, because he wouldn't understand the workings of the police, because the military see the police as bloody civilians. Really? So now we have the police managing its affairs, and the IG, tussle over who controls police recruitment. They had to. It's a shame that they have to go to the Supreme Court to say, okay, it is the duty of the Police Service Commission. But even at that, the police hierarchy still will not let go. They want to control who becomes a constable. And we had this very fine gentleman, Arase, Dr. Solomon Arase, who was a former police officer. And if you sample the opinion of police officers, one of the finest police officers Nigeria produced by Nigeria, and look at the way he was disgraced out of office, on account of tussle between those who felt that he didn't play ball, he didn't politicize the appointment. And the man said, no, that I was a police officer. I know the problem. The problem of the police starts at the recruitment stage. We have to know if we are recruiting criminals. We have to know. And then we have to also understand that, okay, for the first time in the history of Nigeria, let us call a reputable body like JAM. Say, JAM, please, let us conduct a test for us. Anybody who passed, will be recruited. And then what happened? It happened, and the police IG still wouldn't let go. They got politicians to say, okay, let us ease up harassing. But the tragedy of the situation is, I don't know how these recruits will start, because I understand that Arase, when he was Police Service Commission, to prevent undue interference, he hired a foreign organization to bank the results of the recruitment in cloud. So, and Arase has the key, from what I gathered. So and the way he did it was, name, your name will not be mentioned. The exam number is the person's name. You see, this is where biometrics comes to play. So it's a name. So we don't know if you're a thief or you're Yoruba or you're Hausa. If you pass, you passed.
Yeah.
Very fantastic exercise, you understand? I met the JAM registrar, and he said he didn't understand why there's controversy over this matter, we did the exam, and we know how credible JAM is, whether I would like it or not.
Very good
especially point. With the pressing at the hem of affairs.
Exactly.
Very good question on who are we recruiting?
Yes.
Because that becomes a problem when you see the police officers, the way they behave, the way they treat citizens that they're supposed to protect. And also, yesterday we had the Commissioner of Police for the FCT Police Command, and we had asked him how much men he had in the FCT, and he said he had 7,000 men. And then the question was, in an ideal situation, how many men do you need to serve the security needs of the FCT? He said 20,000. So that should be the focus. The men that
That's
you
just
need,
about
the
1/3.
numbers, and the quality of the recruitment of people that you have in the force indeed.
That's just about 1/3. So it's really, 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 really low. I mean, what would you expect? What you said about what Arasha did, I wouldn't know why anybody would want to fight that. Because that makes it a serious business. It formalizes it. And sometimes, like you said, what you get as, well, not just police people, the forces generally, what you get is appalling. So with that system, one, it will, already ethnicity is weeded off because it's just name. Secondly, you're talking about people who know what they're about, people who are in the first place are interested in the work, and then secondly, they have the acumen to be able to do the work, not just throw in any person there. I wonder why that wasn't. You're asking now whether they are going to revert to that, Chooks?
No,
the cloud?
No, they can't, because the man
man has the key.
No, the man who has the key has been asked to go, and very, very ignorant.
So why doesn't need to have the key only himself? Isn't this a system that when someone is on scene, when you leave, the system continues?
No, I'll tell you why.
Right.
Right from when this process started, a lot of people are interested. You see, trust politicians. Okay. Politicians want to say, I gave 10,000 people a job, you understand? And he didn't want that. Right. Okay. Yeah, he didn't want people to interfere in that process. Because even some members of the Police Service Commission are reliably gathered were being bribed by people to say, okay, give us 50 slots, give us 10 slots. So he said, no, let it be here.
As it usually happens.
Exactly. And you ask, okay, like you spoke about the FCT Police Commissioner, fantastic guy. We had a police commissioner in FCT. Everyday kidnappings, everyday armed robbery. Then they brought Igwe. They didn't care if he was from Southeast or wherever. And this guy has proved his mettle. We should always put round pearls in round holes so that we can move forward as a country. We cannot afford to recruit criminals as police officers. Because these guys will still become CPs tomorrow. So if you go and bring an armed robber or a drug addict or whatever and put the person there, before you know it, the person will rise to the top. We saw what happened. I'm not saying that he's a criminal. We saw what happened to Abba Kyari, Super Cop. Understand? He was policing, but he was also dealing in drugs. We didn't know that.
Yeah.
You understand? So if we had the opportunity of running background checks on persons we recruit, because children.
So let's also expand it to the civil service general or to public service, because what seems to happen is that people who have failed in school or have no other choice, they're just looking for a job, they are plucked and put in the public service as a patronage or as a reward. So you don't then get the quality of people that are supposed to be running your country, because the agencies, the institutions, those are the ones that carry your country. Those are the ones that are running, your country eventually. So if you do not have high quality, high performing, productive people that are supposed to be there, then what you get is inefficiencies that we are seeing. It's translating to our lives every day.
And ineffectiveness. You're absolutely correct. But you know why what you said is absolutely correct. But it happens. It happens across the board. You get people saying quota and all that. Even people who are not qualified, people who have not passed because you know somebody. But you know why that of police is risky and dangerous? It's a security thing. That's just what we're talking about. It's a security thing. Like he said, can you imagine having a policeman who is an armed robber? Or a policeman who is a criminal?
And
he has a gun.
You recruit him.
And you recruit him. Well, it's deadly. It's dangerous.
Okay, let's move on to the international headlines. We'll start with the Financial Times. Brussels ready to tackle Trump tariff threat with carrot and stick strategy. So there's a two-step strategy that the EU, the European Union, is planning to deal with Donald Trump if he wins the election this year later. The carrot and stick approach, they think, will be the best way to counter Trump's pledge to impose a 10% minimum tariff, which they estimate could reduce EU exports by 150 billion euros yearly. I mean, it's a smart move to begin to prepare for a post-Democratic Party presidency. Trump has made a lot of policy statements regarding Europe and the rest of the world. And the best plan is to begin to see that future in case he wins, isn't it, Chooks?
Yeah, exactly. You know, I want to take us back to 2003 in Nigeria, when there was pressure on Obasanjo. You know, would you run or won't you run? Will you run, won't you run? So when he eventually opened up, he said that a diplomat, you know, met him and asked him if he was going to contest or not. You know, he was going to resort to the Mandela option, you know, to do a single term and leave. And he said that the whole world was waiting with bated breath, you know, to see if he was going to contest or not, that there will be consequences. In fact, I did the story at the time, and it led this day. So for Nigeria, for the whole world waiting on Nigeria at the time, you know, to know if Obasanjo was going to run or not, the whole world, I dare say, is waiting with bated breath about what happens in America, you know. The West, I mean the European, the EU particularly, is very, very interested. Israel is very, very interested. The UK is very, very interested. And of course, in Nigeria, I've seen a very, very, very spirited debates among Nigerians, you know,
the pro-Trump and
anti-Trump. On our set here.
Yes.
So everybody's, so expectedly, you know, the EU is, Brussels, you know, the EU is, it's very, very concerned about, you know, the possibility of Trump returning. You know, a lot of people became happy when Kamala Harris emerged, you know, where Biden stepped down and said,
giving Trump a run for his
money. See how much she's netted in the past 7 days, you know, over $200 million US a campaign.
Much more than Obama. This is about trade.
Exactly.
Yeah, this is about trade. Trump is about America, the MAGA philosophy, America first. So whatever we're going to be doing in terms of trade policies, actions, it's going to be America first. So I think that's what people, you know, countries are terrified, because it will disrupt the balance of trade or the way that the international system has worked for some time. I mean, it has the capability to do that. Indeed.
It's actually the way Trump is going about it. What is beautiful about this now is that they've experienced it firsthand. They said once bitten, twice shy. So they've experienced Trump before. So now, because of that, they are being proactive to do what needs to be done in case he wins, because the Republican Party are now on their toes. The latest poll shows that, I mean, what's her name? Kamala Harris is beating Trump two places. They're running neck and neck. One place Trump is, I think, is in Wisconsin, which they have held a convention there. Trump is leading one. But in Minnesota is giving Trump about 6 points. Then in Pennsylvania, one other state, they are at par. So, but they are going ahead with their plans.
Right.
If Trump wins.
Yes.
So they will not be taken unawares, which is quite interesting.
Yeah. So let's move on to the I newspaper. 10 million to lose winter fuel allowance. Heating help to be asked for all but poorest pensioners, as Chancellor unveils cuts to plug £22 billion black hole. Door open for tax rises in October budget. VAT on private school fees from January. I mean, Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor of the Exchequer in Great Britain, has, you know, told everyone we have to buckle up. We have to plug this 22 billion hole in the budget. I mean, she said the Tories covered it up, and they cannot. Something needs to be done about this, and that's what she's doing. Chooks.
See, whether we like it or not, you know, the whole world, you know, there are problems everywhere, because, you know, over 8 billion people, you know, not enough resources. So governments all over the world, they are looking for ways to, you know, plug.
Is it that there are not enough resources, or is the way that the resources are being used and depleted, and mostly by some parts of the world? I think it's the system and the lifestyle that is causing the main problem.
No, I'll give us an example. Take Abuja, for instance. Abuja, 50 years ago, it was barren land, you know, trees everywhere. You know, each day we clear hundreds of thousands of hectares globally to make way for farming, to make way for building roads and stuff. These resources, they are gone forever. You can't bring them back. So basically, you know, they say our needs are insatiable, but the way to, you know, the means to achieve them are limited. So we should also, as a country, learn from the UK. they learned from Britain, the new government there. They're trying to plug holes. Winter, I mean, they're heading into winter. And
I mean, I can imagine
yes,
being in winter and not having heating.
Heating. It's terrible. And that's why sometimes people say that we're so blessed in this part of the world.
Oh, we
have everything going for us. You kill meat, put it in the sun. You have what they call kilishi. You sun-dry meat. There, you make hay. You have to look for a way to dry your hay. If not in winter, you won't have food to give your cattle. But here we have all year round.
Not to talk of the typhoons and the hurricanes and the Gaiamis, that destroy the world. It's quite interesting. All the world over, they're learning how to cut. Everybody's cutting. Kenya here in Africa, even though it was provoked by the
protest of the young people.
You saw what happened in Venezuela. What's happening in Venezuela?
Yeah, I mean, Nigeria shouldn't be left out. Britain is they have no choice. 22 projected, 22 billion pounds that was hid. She's revealed it. And so everybody has to, like we said yesterday, cut your coat according to your cloth, not according to your size.
Let's move on to South Africa. That's our last paper to review this morning. Zuma expelled from the African National Congress.
Was expected.
Yes, how the mighty have fallen. I mean, who would have imagined that, one of the freedom fighters who helped to build the party now has been disgraced?
I mean, it's a lesson for politicians to learn in Nigeria, for political parties, because who would dare do that in Nigeria? A former president, no matter how, we saw how Obasanjo publicly tore his membership card.
His PDP card.
Exactly. And we've seen many, not just in, at the national level, even in the states, we've seen governors, anti-party, you understand? Present Minister of FCT, we saw what he did.
I was going to say.
Exactly. Zuma joined ANC in 1959.
He's a founding member of ANC.
Exactly.
He fought, he fought.
And look at the way, and he went an MK party. He worked for MK party. And for the first time, ANC is saying what happened, what really went wrong. And they didn't say because he was former president. Party said you cannot remain in our fold.
But they gave him a bit of time. He was initially suspended. Exactly. He didn't retrace his steps. Now they had to expel him.
No, they're even saying he can appeal. They're doing everything normally. You don't expect, just like what is happening between PDP and Wike, and people are asking, is there something that Wike is using to hold PDP, that PDP, in spite of anti-party...
Maybe he has the needs of some officers, maybe. It's possible.
You can imagine how, late Mandela will feel like if he was alive, looking at the ANC fall apart.
All right.
Completely.
That's a good place to call it a day here on the paper review. Well, that's it for today. There's more on our website at Arise TV. Up next will be the morning show. There's a full day ahead, and every moment indeed does matter. Thank you, Constance. Thank you, Chooks, for being on the program this morning. I am Ndi Amogu, thanking you for watching.